Hello, my name is Boy and I like making figures. Be it out of clay or 3D printed, I'm addicted to the stuff. Today I'll be showing you my process on how I made this little guy. His file is also available for sale, so if that interests you, you can find that down in the description below. Let's go! So I wasn't really sure what I wanted to make, I just knew it was going to be Mob. I entertained the idea of possibly making a really big figure, but the pose is so lame that I drew, and I ended up going with a sitting down Mob. It's inspired by those anime lookup figures. I'll share a picture of them here. These are just really loose ideas because when it comes to my personal projects, I really like things to not be so like, you know? Here's some cute little pastel mobs that look good in my head. You gotta stay and watch to find out if I make them. Ooh, or just skip to the end. Either or, I don't care. So I originally started this model back in January of 2022. I'm just now getting to them because I hit a couple of road bumps this year. Well, more like potholes. More like big old potholes. Just picture a hole that's big enough to consume the whole car, and then picture me in that hole. This year was rough. So yeah, all this to say that there's a few time jumps in my recordings. So I'll say it, this is a bit of a rough start on his head, but don't mind him, he's gonna change in a second. There's a jump in the recording where I erase the face and I give him a nose and I start working on the hair. So the face was giving me a little bit of trouble. There's not a lot of definition in the way that they're drawn in the show, but that kind of works out a little bit because it's more of a chibi that I'm going for. I don't know, I think it's one of those things that it's so simple, it's kind of difficult to do. But I don't know, I made it work. Here, I'm making the head transparent so I can better align it with my sketch. Oh no, a sad mob. So now I'm going to work on the body. Perfect. I'm joking. Hamster mob. You know, the real joke here is that I never got any like actual footage of me working on the body. So I felt I was about done, and I didn't like him looking straight forward because it was just kind of boring. So I decided to tilt his head a little bit. As cute as I thought this was, I feel like it was kind of a little bit too out of character. It was just a little bit too cutesy baby for me, so I'm trying to look for something a little bit more subtle. Don't get me wrong though, Mob still is baby, 100%. There we go, that's better. Also, I forgot to shoot. Here he is! Go Mob, go! Here we are. I started him January 2022, finished the sculpting portion in October of 2022. I'm doing the voiceover now in November. I still need to paint him. God knows when the video is coming out. I have a love-hate relationship with my airbrush, but I really wanted to use it to get a smoother look for this figure. I typically do paint most of my figures with just a brush, but since the skin color is so light, it would take quite a few coats to get a nice full and even coverage. Typically when painting with the brush, the more coats, at least with the paint I use, it leaves more chance for things to get kind of lumpy, and I didn't want to run that risk, especially with such a tiny little figure. With the airbrush, I don't need to worry too much about getting it to look smooth because an even spray takes care of that. I also don't have to do as many coats. I just hate setting the thing up. The compressor's so loud and it like rattles around on the floor. Like it'll like shake about. So I have to put it on top of some blankets to suppress the sound because I have downstairs neighbors. Moving on, sometimes the printer leaves these tiny little holes in my prints, but it's really easy to fix. I'm just gonna fill these in with some Milliput. Look at these tiny little shoes. I think some of their details kind of turned to mush because I have an older printer and this figure is so freaking tiny. I mean, I made him small for a reason, but more on that later. Now I'm switching over to hand brush painting. Black paint goes on pretty easy, and even though it'll take a few coats to get it to be solid, doing this for the skin with the brush definitely would have taken more. details like crisp edges on camera is so tricky because I'm so used to having the figure be right up in my eyeballs. I think painting those edges is some of the more satisfying parts of painting, but it's really hard to show y'all with the angles and being able to have enough brush control and film, and it's just, oi. I was dreading the face because of how small the print is. I typically wouldn't print this small, but I wanted this figure to fit into a specific shelf of mine. I have this little house display shelf that I got from Target, and I wanted Mob to fit right here in this area. I really wanted to dedicate this section to things that I've made for myself or just that weren't commissions. Most of, if not all, my figure making experience comes from doing commissions. I've said this before, but I'm really hoping I can do more with my YouTube channel to make some more money so I can make more stuff for myself this year. So I'd appreciate if you like this video and share it with a friend, please. I usually like to sketch on the face with a pencil, but his face was just so tiny and I couldn't get a really good, accurate, I don't know. I just ditched the pencil, that's what happened. I had faith that painting the mouth wasn't going to be too bad, so I just went straight into the brush. So painting the mouth was pretty forgiving, it wasn't too bad, but the eyes, I knew I was going to have a little bit of trouble with, so I needed some help. I decided I'm going to use a light color to kind of mark out where I want to put the eyes. I use this light brown for my draft. Also, I'm sorry my chunky dunky hand keeps getting in the way of the shot. I swear I checked the iPad before I started painting to see if I was painting clearly and in frame. But I guess my body must have started moving as I was painting. The sad part is it doesn't get better. In fact, it gets worse. I had to cut out so much footage because everything was just getting in the way. My whole head like eclipses Mob at some point. After I paint on those last little button details, I glue the body together and do any last touch-ups. Look, they're waiting to see you. Come out, my boy. Come say hi to everyone. Wow. Oh, not that close. Back up. So admittedly, it took me a little bit to warm up to the size he ended up being, but then I remembered who I based his size on. And then after they were side by side, I was like, oh, it's perfect. He's perfect. I love it. I love them. I did put him in that initial space that I mentioned, that I dedicated and picked out for him and all my future projects, but it just looked kind of empty and lonely still, so I moved him. Welcome, Mob, to my sentimental figure section. Either I was gifted one of these, or I have a connection with the character or series, or just like, you know, little stuff like that. You know, the more I thought about it, the more I really liked him being in this spot and the more sense it made for him to be here. A really great friend of mine introduced me to the series. I watched the series all the way through with another really great person. Mob, the character himself, has taught me so much. The series is amazing in itself. This figure is the first thing I made for myself in like years. The figure is also paired with a YouTube video that I've been working on for so long, and I was able to do it. Honestly, I've been reflecting, and I'm not really the type of person to celebrate my accomplishments, but I think the simple move of just moving him to this special little spot, I kind of made something light up in my brain and made me feel good. Also, you remember earlier when I said that he looked too baby, so I changed his pose? Look at him! He's literally in baby cradling position. What the? I've always loved how expressive this shampoo figure was, and I was like, I'm gonna put him in her arms, and she just happened to like fall perfectly the way she was holding him, and like his little knees tucked in, and like, you see what I'm saying? Anyways, thank you so much for watching and making it this far. A gentle reminder that this file is for sale. You can buy it on my website down below. Thank you so much for watching. I hope I was coherent because I feel like sometimes I have trouble translating my thoughts out loud. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment them. Thank you for being here, and a big, fat, wet, mushy thank you to the Patreon homies. Look at their little icons. Look at their faces. They're so cute. This could be you. This could be your face. Join my Patreon. I'll link it down below. Please, I'm making no money off these videos. I just do them for fun. I watch my other videos so I can get monetized eventually. That'd be pretty sick. Alright, I'm out now.